Alright guys, well they've just reopened the road. I was hoping to do the similar shot that I did with the Vosges 350 AC, where the road was closed and I could put the bike in the middle of the road, but they've just this second reopened the road, so there's a few vehicles that are still turning around, but the road looks open. So I'm going to do the intro before I get run over, and then we're going to head out on the now open road. So yesterday I was up at Midwest Moto and I did a first ride review of this bike. Just, you know what my reviews are like, they're not really reviews to be honest. It's just me riding a bike and monologuing something, and it's just my experience. There's no facts, there's no figures, there's not really that much of a bike review in the video. Anyway, I did the first ride, all went well. It's kind of a monster of a bike, that was my conclusions. Far too much power for me, an absolute beast muscle bike, just scary fast. I was putting the Indian FTR away at Midwest, and Mark, who's the dealer principal at Midwest Moto, really nice chap, if you've ever been into Midwest you'll know, he said, do you want to take the FTR home tonight and ride it tomorrow and bring it back tomorrow? So I thought, well that's a gift horse not to look in the mouth. I'll take the FTR home and take it out again today and see if I draw any new conclusions. So that's what we're doing. We're taking out the FTR again for a second day, just to see if I learn anything new. So, before all this traffic comes, let me just move this bike. That's my sign to wrap up this section.
I have a correction. In the other video I said 125 foot-pounds, 125 bhp. I was getting confused between metric and imperial. It happens, it happens. 120 newton meters of torque, which equates to about 88 foot-pounds. So, not quite as rip-roaring as I said it was, but I mean, gosh, look at it. It's fierce. So I guess we've answered that question though. We know it's a fast bike. You really want to know whether it's a bike you can live with, don't you? And that's what a longer ride gives you the ability to do. Just discern whether this bike's character traits, its raucous nature, sort of too much, if you were, or they're kind of fun. I mean, it's a little bit like doing the ride yesterday, a little bit like going on a first date with an extremely attractive woman who you think might be a bit psychotic, and you're like, I kind of want to see her again, but I really probably shouldn't. But then you end up, like me on the FTR today, on the second date, don't you? And then maybe she's attractive and balanced. And that's the challenge. Is this little bike stunningly attractive and powerful and something you could live with on a day-to-day basis? Could you entertain this date on a long-term basis? That is the question. Okay, I'll get into comfort first and foremost. So if this was a sports bike, it'd be horrific, but luckily it's not. It's a big old naked muscle bike, and it's American, and you know American stuff is generally comfortable, whether it's Levi jeans or if you get into a Jeep Wrangler, big old seats, easy to get in and out of. I wonder if I can hop around this Mercedes. Whoa! 30 miles an hour and a 60. There you go. Trundle, 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 trundle. That is the problem of having a bike like this. You get so frustrated because you've got all that power and most of the time you can't use it. So it is what it is, really. But yeah, it's a very comfortable bike, and I can tell that because I'm wearing my backpack today. When I packed up this morning to get my camera equipment on the bike, I decided to put some panniers on the bike, strap them up, and they instantly broke, which kind of peed me off no end. So I'm now wearing a backpack, which on some bikes can be really uncomfortable because the tripod and all that gubbins weighs a lot. But on this, because of the riding position, even put with weight loaded on my back, I actually feel alright. So, I mean, that's a good sign for this little, I say little, this beast of a bike. It's that guy in there. For once, I didn't actually know what bike that was. If someone can tell me in the comments, then write it down. I have no idea what the guy was riding. I do pride myself sometimes on being able to spot bikes. You know, if Susie asks me what's that bike, 9 times out of 10, if it's a 2005 onwards bike, I can tell her. But that bike, I don't know. So someone let us know in the comments. 30 miles an hour through Romyard. By the way, everyone, thanks for supporting my vlog the other day when I went up to Mid Wales. I know those type of videos aren't as popular as a sort of new, sexy, kind of really sort of hot off the press bike reviews, but to be honest, sourcing bikes all the time is really stressful, and I know there's people who do that and they're in with the manufacturers and the brands and they just go to all the launches and stuff, and that's cool for them. I'm probably never say never, but I'm probably not going to go down that road, so I will ride new bikes when I have them available. Like today, I've been very kindly gifted this for a day, but most of the time I'm going to be doing odds and ends and vlogging here and there and trying to sort of stitch together different pieces of content, you know, based on what I'm doing and the sort of little trips that we have. The other big thing as well, which some of you know, is that we are looking to move and we're living a different life, and that's the overall game plan. Our long-term strategy is to actually leave the UK, live somewhere wild, really, more in touch with nature. So all that leads me back to say thank you everybody who did watch the Mac Loop Mid Wales trip, because I really appreciate that. A few people wrote nice comments as well. It just shows me that I'm not totally bonkers to mix up the content every now and then. I've had a few off-record chats with other YouTubers. Yeah, I won't tell you who they are, but in case they're like, oh, I said this, you know, don't want to blow their secrets. But basically, we all know that the bike reviews are the ones that do the best in terms of video performance, and everything else comes a distant second. So me doing a little bit of vlogging and trips and stuff, it's a bit of a risk, but I enjoy doing it, and I think that there are people out there who supported it, so obviously I've got a lot of time for you guys, so thank you. Right, we've got a few big vehicles here to overtake, and this road is not famous for long overtaking stretches, so see what I can do. I have obviously got the power to overtake. I could probably overtake. Oh, there you go, the van's going. Vauxhall Vivaro. Oh, I was going to do the Vivaro again, but little blue tranny came in my way, didn't he? But you know what, maybe I'll just chill behind the Vivaro. He's going for some, isn't he? Hey! I sounded a bit like the Bingley Reader then. Hey! Don't worry, Dave, I'm not going to steal the little chuckle. That's what makes your videos yours. Right, FTR time. So yeah, I also had a chat to Mark yesterday in Midwest Moto, and he kind of showed me a lot more of how the bike works and that sort of thing. So if you well, we showed this yesterday, if you flick through, you see it goes through the inbuilt navigation, which doesn't seem to need a phone to connect. It seems to be built into the bike, which is pretty special. But yeah, it goes through various screens. I tend to leave it on this sort of old-fashioned looking one, you know what I'm like, guys. If you then hold down this little lever, you get this, okay? And this is where the joystick, you know, this little thing that we didn't know how it worked. Now you can kind of go through this with a joystick. Can I go down? Yes, I can go down. Oh, controls. Let's go to ride, and if you press the joystick in, it's quite intuitive. Oh, wrong, I'm gonna mess everything up here. Go back. Tracking paused. Let's go resume. There you go. Don't want to be tracked. Okay, my whole demo just fluffed in one go. We'll try again. Hold this down. Right, now it gives you this little interface. Got your gauges there. Hold on, I better stop talking just to go around this tractor. give him a wave. Thank you, buddy. That's very appreciated. Yeah, you use the little joystick to go around, and then you've also got a touch screen as well, so you can touch and it'll really change things about. Crazy, isn't it? But anyway, I've just lost myself in a rabbit hole. That's the one you want. On this little one here with the sliders, because it allows you to do the rain mode, standard road and sport mode. So all the mayhem that happened yesterday, that was in standard. I didn't even go into sport. It's absolutely bonkers. You've got traction control, which is really good. It doesn't interfere. You don't feel it interfere. It doesn't get in the way of the fun. Like, you don't even know it's there. It's just probably silently protecting me from dying, isn't it, with this kind of power. I haven't ridden it in sport yet, so later today I'll probably put it in sport, but I don't really even have the need to put it in sport, because it's so fast anyway. But anyway guys, I just wanted to show you some of the gubbins on the screen. Let's just press, we need to press that one there to go back, or press that one there. Can you do anything? Let's press that again maybe. Oh, okay, that cycles back through. So much electronic gubbins on bikes. I think it gets in the way of riding sometimes, but that is that. The other thing which we learnt at Midwest yesterday after I made the video was that the Öhlins suspension on the carbon FTR carbon, or FTR1200 carbon, whatever they call it, that's very fancy. So that is a better ride and probably less jarring than this one. So I haven't tested the base model. I'm on the Sport, which is this one here, and then you got the carbon, and then you got the 100% carbon, which is just daft. It's just another layer of carbon over everything, even more carbon than the carbon. Whoa. Bit of a beast. Susie and I were saying yesterday that, because Susie has been on the back of this bike, so we'll probably drop in some of Susie's comments somewhere in the video, but we were saying yesterday, it doesn't sound as nice as it could. It sounds like a rumble, like a brrrr. It doesn't sound raucous like a 1200cc V-twin perhaps you imagine to. So they do sell an acro rear section for this exhaust, Acropovich. I think it's in black with titanium tips, or fully titanium. I think you get a couple of options. I would probably go for that, and I don't say that lightly because I know that a new exhaust costs a bit of a wedge to put the new Acropovich on there, especially on a premium model. But if you're going for this bike, you want it to sound nice. I mean, listen, it's okay, isn't it? I mean, maybe you think that sounds great, but I think it needs to be a little bit more raucous. As we said in the last video on this bike, the fit and finish is really good, and I think that American made is something to be proud of. Like, if you think of Harley, obviously Indian's biggest competitor, but you think of Harley, you think of Mack trucks, you think of Levi jeans, all that sort of like Rust Belt Americana brands, they're always expensive but quality. I think Indian motorcycle is no exception. I think that's where they fit in as well. It's just Americans, they over-engineer everything, strong, rugged, beastly, more power, more fun. You know, it's a little bit like the cars. Obviously this won't handle the same as a BMW M1000RR or something like that, but that's the kind of trade-off. You get the big raucous engine, you get the stance, you get the presence, you get the curb appeal, basically. And I think that this has that probably over a lot of the European brands. What could you compare this to? I don't know, like, it's the 990 Duke. That's a bit extreme, isn't it? That's a V-twin powerful naked, or is it a parallel twin? I haven't ridden the KTM, so I've only read about it in the mags, but maybe compare it to that. You could compare it, of course, to the Ducati Street Fighter V-twin. Harley doesn't have anything comparative, which is where they're lacking a little bit. Perhaps you could compare it to one of the BMW R912T, whatever it's called, R12T, R9T12, R12T, whatever they're called. They've got boxer twin. I imagine they're quite raucous as well. But really, it's just a guess. If you like the idea of a muscle bike, then this might be a bike for you, or a muscle naked. Sounds a bit naughty, doesn't it? A naked muscle bike. On this tarmac though, it seems fine comfort wise, and like I said, I am wearing a backpack, so I'm just chilling. Oi, hard on the Brembos. Brembos, of course, are the same across all the different models, which is really good. Susie and I were debating what model to get. Oh, get the carbon, get this one. Oh no, actually she likes this one more than the carbon. She likes the red and the black. And I was saying, I'll just get the base model, because I want to save £2. So if you didn't watch yesterday's video, this one, with the discounts at the moment, is $10,995. The base model, I got you all excited then. The base model is $10,995. This model is $12,995, and then the carbon is another £2 again. But at the moment, summer deals are that's £2 off list price. So the bike I'm on now would be $14,995. There's the boys. By the way, lovely to meet you, Paul, with the Chrome Interceptor, and you also live in Worcester. I like to remember then, there's two chaps with Chrome Interceptors. So I was like, is that the wrong guy? No, but I met Paul at Midwest Moto, and he actually offered to come out and ride behind me and film a different angle on the bike. What a lovely gesture. So thank you to Paul, and you know, that's just typical of some of the lovely people that are on the channel, so thanks very much, I'm very grateful for that. If anybody watching this knows about the Ghost 4K like bike cam, dash cam for bikes, then Paul was asking me about it. I don't actually know about it because I didn't review or have any experience of that camera, but if you do know about it, then write in the comment section, because that would help one of the other subscribers out, which would be a very good thing to do. Alright, round we go. I love just rolling on the throttle around bends, and that was fourth, and yeah, it's very flickable for a bigger bike, this is. Alright! Oh, being a bit silly. As our mutual friend with the Z900 RS says, the torque is addictive. If you know, you know. There's the boys off on their two Honda Hornets and a Honda Rebel. Try and sneak in front of this red car, shall we? Yeah, she won't mind. They're obviously going camping or something, aren't they? And if you remember, I actually said at the other review that a Honda Hornet would be a good bike, a good base bike from which to sort of move up to something like this, because obviously the Hornet is sort of 95 horsepower, it's quite lightweight, quite chuckable, so that would be a good bike really to cut your teeth on. I'd even say the Hornet's probably an okay, that's an really interesting thing, isn't it? The Hornet's probably a really good beginner bike. Push it, it's affordable. It pushes the limit for beginner bike, but because of the power. But yeah, 2 Hornets and a Rebel. The little Honda convoy rolls on through Leominster. I'll tail them a little bit, shall I? Give you guys something more interesting to look at. That's it, lads, indicate. Now, we've got to do a little bit of town riding through Leominster, and one of the complaints that people have made about this bike is the throttle sensitivity. And of course, it's not really a bike you'd pick to commute on. You know, if you had a Ford Mustang 5 litre, you wouldn't go to Londis and back on it. You would take it out on big trips, and it's kind of the same with this bike. It'll do town work, but it's like, why? It's not really excelling in any way in the town. So at the moment I'm using the torque, I'm just rolling in second gear. I don't find it very jerky, but then it helps if you ride with a couple of fingers on the brake, which is good practice anyway in some situations, just riding with a little bit on the front brake. Over we go, lads. Hopefully hit the green light now. So look, if you see, I'm not getting that much jerk. Now, I wouldn't classify it as bad fueling at all, and it's very hard to make a 1200 V-twin. Oh, these guys are really sort of easing it around the corner, aren't they? Very safe riding, very careful riding. It's very hard to make a big old V-twin jerky because the inertia of the engine, they just don't seem to do it. I don't know the technical reason behind it, but they seem to be almost immune to sort of jerky, snatchy throttles. With this one here, low speed, just crawling along at first, open. It's kind of on the rider, to be honest. If I see, it's got C. If I'm stupid and snatchy, yeah, it'll punish me for it. But it's got that so much power and so much sensitivity on the throttle. You want that instant throttle response when you're hammering it and frantically trying to upshift to keep up with the revs. But the downside is, of course, you've got to have the control when you're going at slow speed. See, look, if I'm careful with the throttle, I get buttery smooth. If I'm stupid, I get jerkiness. So really, it's not fueling, it's to do with the rider. You've got to realise that you're on a massive beast of a bike with a heck of a lot of power. And if you realise that and get used to it, then you'll be fine. I'm going to crash the bike over some bumps. Not awful. I mean, that was a bit of a big one. Just ride down here in these drains. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't do anything back braking. Susie even said it was comfortable on the back, which is saying something, because she was perched up there, high foot pegs, but she said it was comfortable. Oh boys, did you just not fill up at Shell to fill up in Morrison's? What did we tell you about using premium fuel? Yeah, they're filling up in a different petrol station. Premium fuel every time. E5 and drive. E10, something that rhymes with 10 that isn't good. But E5 and drive. And don't buy bloody supermarket ethanol fuel. Mark even told me, the dealer principal at Midwest, he said Esso fuel is the best, V5. V5? No, that's the document that you get with a bike. E5 Esso. Esso, whatever the premium Esso fuel is, that's the best one, he reckons. Obviously I trust his opinion because he's sold a lot of bikes and been around a lot of bikes. I'm running Shell V-Power Ultimate or whatever that is, so I did as best I could, put E5 in it, but don't skimp on the fuel. It's hardly anything on a tank of motorbike fuel. You'll go further, it'll look after the engine more. It's well worth it. Just E5 it, guys. If you leave a bike over winter, definitely E5, because that ethanol is hygroscopic. It pulls in water from the atmosphere. So if you got half a tank of fuel with ethanol in, half a tank of air, then that's going to bring water into the fuel, and then all this internal components of the fuel system isn't designed to have water in it. That's going to then get wet essentially, or have exposure to moisture, which it shouldn't. Well, that's the rant over with. Dual my indicator OCD. Look, beep 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 beep. I could do Morse code the amount of times I press this indicator to cancel. And everyone always comments on it. Yes, it's an OCD. I do it because I get scared of cars coming out of junctions, and I used to leave the indicator on a lot. So to compensate, I press this little button every so often. Oh, should we ask a really interesting question? Could you tour on this bike? And as those guys on the Hornets proved, you can tour on anything, even a 125cc scooter. I'd say it's got the comfort, the seat's firm but plush at the same time, so it's got that. It's got the power, obviously. You could cruise at whatever speed you wanted really on the autobahn. I'm sure this thing, if you could hold on, that would be the limit of the speed you could career down the autobahn at. So it's got the power, it's got the comfort because you're upright. Where it falls down is you can't carry a jot on it. If you went to the shop and bought a pack of biscuits, you'd struggle. You'd struggle. You couldn't put those on anywhere on this bike. It's crazy. You could go with a £5 note and they give you change, and you couldn't carry it back on this bike. There's so little storage. I tried to fit the side panniers to this bike this morning. I might show you a picture of them, and it turned out that it didn't work out because the panniers broke when I tried to install them, which is a pain. But nevertheless, I tried, and when they were on there, the seat and exhaust positioning is such that side-mounted panniers fit on fine. So if you could fit on that, or the other thing is the Moscow bag. They told me about that at the dealership yesterday as well. Moscow bag, like a U-shaped bag, I think, that goes over the seat of motorcycles. It's called a Moscow bag. Didn't know that was a thing, but hey buddy, 1150 GS. Hey buddy. I'm going to be saying hey buddy a lot. There's loads of bikers up here. Just go back to the old nod. But yeah, you could put one of those on the back. You could also do a tank bag. The tank's really big as well, which would be quite useful to stick a big tank bag. Also, you could have one here, nice and flat, and it wouldn't be in your eye line. You could probably have it up to there. Actually quite a good bike to put a tank bag on. I haven't tried obviously, but I think that would work. So you got a tank bag, you got side panniers, and then you could probably put something bungeed over the rear seats, some kind of cowboy job that I usually do. You could do that with bungees or such. So there you are. You could potentially tour on this bike. I'm going to do 50-80 miles today, so I'll let you know what it's like after doing some distance, and then we can come to a conclusion whether the bike will be good for touring or not. I've got a little bit of warmth, but we're in a British summer, so the engine sort of lightly warming my legs is kind of a good thing. Oh, the other thing which you probably wouldn't like is fuel economy. I don't know what this beast does, but it's not going to be sipping fuel like a classic 350, is it? But yeah, that's all part of the fun. When you want to go fast, you don't have fuel economy to go with it. Right, let's just pop up here. I want to see what council activity is going on up here. So we've got an antique excavator from my American friends that's a backhoe. It looks like a classic. He's towing it in an Ivor Williams flatbed trailer with ratchet straps that don't look like they're done at. And what on earth is the towing vehicle? Is it a Unimog or something? This guy is like a collector of old machinery by the look of it. To be fair, that little excavator does have a certain charm. You know, imagine that fully restored and painted up at an agricultural show. It'll be a classic one day. Is it a Unimog? I'll pop round now and I'll try and have a little look. Alright, watch this. Yeah, look at that. It's cool, that, isn't it? Oh. Hell of a vehicle. Obviously I had to finish the overtake, couldn't keep showing you guys. Hey buddy. Couldn't keep showing you guys the Unimog thing. But let me know what that orange vehicle was. Back at the water gardens. Today it's open, so we'll just trundle on in. Oh, lots of cars there, very busy. And I'm going to see what I can have to eat, and then we'll probably do one of the shots. I kind of eat something, and then the bike's next to me, and then I'll sort of spout something out, and you'll be interested because I'm eating. It's a thing. It's a thing, guys. Let's just stick the bike in here, shall we? Not in the lake. Right.
Right. How does this work exactly? I think you sit here and then you like eat something and then talk to the camera at the same time about the bike. So you got to do two different things at once. So let's just start off. Potato and broccoli soup. Homemade, delicious. Oh, yeah. That's so nice. Oh. So you do a little bit of that, and then you do a little bit of bike chat. So how's the bike going? Oh, sorry guys, I'm just overwhelmed by this broccoli. I tell you what a difference a day makes, because doing a little bit more a longer ride and having a little bit more patience, because I don't just have half an hour, 40-minute test ride. I've kind of got used to sort of tickling the dragon's tail a little bit. So you don't really need to go critical on this bike. And if anybody there got the reference, then well done you. But I've ridden a bit further today, and I've realised that you can actually ride this bike sedately. You just sort of, damn, this is why this whole eating and filming doesn't work, because that butter thing just flew off into the distance. I'll have to go and collect it in a minute. Anyway, as I was saying, you can ride this bike really gently if you want to. It's almost like a cruiser in the fact that in the higher gears, 5th and 6th, you can just roll on the throttle and sort of surge the power through the corners, which is just really pleasant, to be honest. It's really sort of flowing and nice. So I like that about it. Again, I stick by my assertion that I would stick to the original standard base model FTR, because you've got the good brakes, you've got the good power plant, you've got the looks, you've got the green green shock and decals on there. So I think it looks good in base model for me. So I'd probably go for that at 10,995. Again, it's a bike that is probably aimed at the younger rider. It's probably aimed to get people into the Indian brand. And it's a bike in a class of all of its own. It's undeniably cool. I'll give it that. Like, it's a bike that turns heads. I think if you change the exhaust and that was louder, then when you rode up somewhere, people would all look and, you know, see who'd arrived on what bike. There's also lots of customization options for it, so you can change the seat. There'll be crash bars. There's, as I mentioned, the acro exhaust, bar end mirrors. There's loads of different bits and bobs. So I'll show you the spec sheet for all the upgrades, because there's a heck of a lot of upgrades. Let's just eat some bread. Bread. Wild. I'm not doing a close-up of the food, don't worry. So yeah, the bike's becoming, on day 2, a lot more usable, a lot more sort of friendly. I've got that initial racing and recklessness out of the system because I obviously only had a short time. I blasted it, and now it's becoming more of a sort of realistic ownership proposition.
Right, camera's coming on here, guys, just for new tarmac. You're probably getting wind noise to high hell. Probably have to be a voiceover in this when we get back, but Ian Halliwell just wanted to show you some new tarmac. Ian actually wrote in the comments, why did you go all the way to North Wales and not see any planes? What a waste of 2 hours of your life. So I thought it was a little bit harsh, Ian. But I did find out where the planes are, or where they go past, and I had a nice time riding a bike, and I found a new spot by the lake, which is what the thumbnail of that video is. Really, really pretty. So not everything is about the end goal, the objective, Ian. You know, I didn't succeed in finding the planes, but I did still have a nice time. And here's some new tarmac as well. Oi! Up to 60, and you guys are dying of wind noise, so let's end that now. Getting blown about all over the place up in here. All right, guys, just trying to clean the GoPro lens. I was going to do a nice set piece, little job to camera to finish off the video, conclusions about the Indian FTR1200. I'm on over 100 miles now, probably about 130 by the time I finish the day. But the weather, it's August in the UK, so we've got a nice little drizzle, little grey hue to the sky, and my visor's getting slowly inundated. So, I mean, unfortunately I can't do the set piece. So what I'll do is just wrap things up here. Hopefully that's okay. So after riding the FTR for longer, you can see just by the way I'm riding it now that I'm using the power to coast on, sort of just to flow around the bends. It's like it just burbles along, almost like a V8 muscle car, which is a good analogy, really. This little, what we're in now, 6th gear, look at this, 6th gear. Whoa! And I was even getting a little bit of the pulling back on the bars in 6th. Just drop down to 4th. And see, look, all the winds blowing up there and trees are beginning to rustle, rain's coming, it's pretty vile. church. But yes, the FTR is actually a lot more livable than I gave it credit for. It's surprisingly comfortable, both with the seating position, the bend in the knee. The seat looks uncomfortable, but it really is all day comfort. And watch this now, up to 60. See? It's got that, whoa, the roll-on acceleration for days. Just clean the GoPro. So overtaking is just a dream on this thing. Any gear, any vehicle. And I used to think it was a bit stupid. People used to say, oh yeah, you need the power to overtake. It's just like, wow, wait for a safe place to overtake then. But I kind of see where the saying comes from now, because you could nip round anything, in and out. It gives you more opportunities to safely overtake other vehicles. So the power is one of those things where you complain if it was too slow, and even though it's too much power for a bike that I'd personally own, I don't think we can complain about it, that it's too torquey. You know, that's what this bike's designed for. It's basically a muscle bike. On that note, I've decided to call it a muscle bike. We do know it's in a category all of its own, but basically it's kind of a muscular naked bike. It's not as big as, say, a Triumph Rocket 3 or the Yamaha VMAX, one of those sort of like out and out straight line bikes. It's more like that feeling, but in a naked package. I do also love, oh, it's a shame we're not standing in front of the camera here, because I could show you the engine again. I do also love the way that the space frame tubular steel, powder coated in a very sort of characterful and eye-catching silvery grey. I like how that shrouds the engine, but the highlight of this bike is the engine. So it's kind of like an engine sat there as the main feature, and then the bike built up around it. Of course, people will say, well, which one do you go for, the 3 or 4 variants? Well, I discount the 100% carbon, because I mean, how much carbon do you need on a bike? I'd probably go for this one or the base model, even though people say the Öhlins one is way better. I'm sure it is, but for the kind of riding I do, I just get the base level version. This bike, I will say, is undeniably cool as well. That's something which you've either got or you haven't. It'll be like people, really. You're either cool or you're not. And this bike, as it rolls into town now, it's got presence, especially in the black and the red. It's very, it draws attention, I think. It would be even more so if they had a loud sounding exhaust on it. Oh, which way do I go here? I'm gonna guess this way. Red tarmac, supposedly more grip, somebody said to me in the comment section after we went to Wales and I rode on that red tarmac road. Apparently it's more grip. The jerkiness of the throttle as well, we have to address that. I personally think it's a powerful bike. See, I can make it jerk if I want to, but it's a powerful bike with a sensitive throttle. And after having it a day, I've kind of learned that if you're sensitive with the throttle, then it will reward you. Whereas if you're careless with the throttle, then obviously you get the jerkiness. I don't think it's badly fueled. I think it's a bike that when you're used to it, it'll be smooth as butter. It's just when you're not, and when you take this bike out for a test ride of however long, like 30 minutes or 20 minutes, and you're not used to it, then obviously it comes across a little bit jerky. But with rider experience, you won't find this a jerky throttle. And I don't really think that we can say, oh, India need to remap the bike, map out the jerkiness. I don't think that's true. I can flat foot the bike as we're at this little junction here with a bend in the knee. The thing about this bike in the town environment though, it gives off significant heat. even though it's got that single cylinder deactivation when you're idling. Lady nice let me out, thank you. Just wave to it. Right, cheers. It's got single cylinder deactivation, which when you stop you'll see a little indicator come up, and it goes into a big single mode, effectively a 600cc single. Now that goes on and off automatically, so that's just fuel saving and heat saving. It's kind of a nice touch. Oh my god, look at this weather. People playing bowls there, or whatever that thing is with a big wooden stick. A croquet, is that it? Big wooden stick with a big circular piece of wood on the end, and you like hit the ball through those little goal posts. Yeah, whatever that is, they're playing it. So I mean, it's got, as we see here, as we come into the 60, we're in third gear, and I'm not even in sport. Look, whoa, 60. It's nuts. So it's got tectonic acceleration and torque. You know, you can feel the rear tyre of this bike is moving the earth, not the other way around. It's wild crazy. I do like that roll-on acceleration. Gives you so many options. You can just do whatever you want. Accelerating and overtaking is just a doddle. So it does give quite a lot of options, and that gives you a kind of a rewarding ride, but with a little bit of frustration, because it's such a fast, powerful bike. When you're stuck behind Edna, you know, 80 years old, and in a Honda Jazz doing 30 mile an hour in a 60, that's frustrating, because you know the bike's got so much more to give. But then again, this roll-on power is such that everything can eat your dust if you want it to. It's got that American build quality, it's got a cool factor, it's very different, and it's got tectonic acceleration. So those things all add up to quite an amazing package. I mean, look at that, it's fierce. It's absolutely fierce. And if you ride with a pillion, you're not going to go that far with a pillion on the back, but you're not going to even notice the weight. This bike has got so much torque, 120 newton meters or 88 foot-pounds. It just eats up. Oh, just eats it up. If you're the kind of person who likes the idea of a Ford Mustang 5 litre, or Camaro, or Dodge Charger, then this is the bike for you. Oh my good god. Ended up right in the hedge. Yeah, this is the kind of bike that sort of suits that car. Straight out and out, straight line performance, roar of a big thumping V-twin. Got this pseudo analog tacho there with the odometer around the top. It's yeah, it's an amazing bike. Suits big flowing A roads probably a little bit more than the sharper twisties. So all in all, I wouldn't buy this bike myself, because I'm a little bit too tight for 11 grand, firstly. Secondly, the power is way too much for me to use. I'm not used to bikes this powerful. But that said, I could also recommend this bike. Like, I haven't found any obvious flaws with it, and it's an experience. It's a visceral experience. Oh, 30. Visceral experience to ride it. You know, you feel special when you get on this bike, and you feel exhilarated. So they've created something a little bit magic in this old FTR. I'm really glad I've ridden it. I was a little bit worried about going up to such a big capacity, but now having done it, I'm kind of chuffed, and I understand a little bit more about the appeal of big bikes, or big engine bikes like this. Yeah, it's fairly manageable at slow speed and things like that, but it's also a bike that can excite you when you want it to. Alright guys, well I hope that was a good conclusion. I'm concentrating on riding, and unfortunately we didn't get to do a little bit of a set piece of camera. I'm going to brave the rain, get back, and then get back on my BSA and scurry back home and get out of this weather. But let me know what you think about the FTR, and yeah, I'll be kind of sad to return here. Alright guys, I'll catch you in the next one.